Welcome back to The Current. Today we will be interviewing Brooklin Green, a professor in the Communication Studies Department at both UNCW and the University of Mount Olive. We will be talking to her about her time as an instructor, as well as incorporating humor into event speaking. Harvey, over to you.
Thank you, Kate. Hi, Professor Green.
Hi.
We are excited to have you on today. So to start, can you share a bit about your background and your story?
Yeah, absolutely. So it started back when I was a wee child, years ago. Do you have violins? Mm-hmm. You do? Okay, can you add those in later?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, I'm messing with you. So a little bit about my background and my story, which is fun and interesting. So I teach here, obviously, at UNCW for communications. My background, my degree is in communications and leadership. I'm also I say former stand-up comedian. I will still perform anonymously. Don't find me. All right, I prefer for crowds not to know what's happening. And I want to keep my job, if possible. For a little bit. So with that, I'm also former, I actually still do teach improvisation and points within comedy across the board with International Theater Festival, the Thespian Group Educational Theater Association. For the last 12 years, I also am currently a speaker for basically I teach adults how to play again and the importance of taking humor seriously. I don't know where the camera is, but I'm going to pan to it for a second. Take humor seriously. Anyway, I have to get that joke out of the way because it's overdone, right? So anyway, basically I go into events, corporate organizations, and professional development, utilizing humor and play to teach, facilitate, and promote leadership, communication, and overall wellness. I actually just did one for Pediatrician Association nationally about how to communicate and how to start utilizing humor and play in the workplace for doctors and wellness workers and nurses and stuff like that. So, obviously kids, their bedside manner can get it's really hard to be like, do you know what you have, to a 3-year-old, right?
Right.
They like a little bit more humor and play. So kind of coming up with tools and strategies for people to utilize it more, because it's one of our most underestimated and underrated communication tools that get you more out of any given situation, whether it be interpersonal, public, or just communicating and connecting with other humans in general.
Wow, that's fascinating. So can you share with us some pivotal moments or experiences that shaped your career path?
Yeah. So how far back, do you still have those violins?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So how far back do we really want to go with this? We'll start with, I started off, I got my undergrad in theater years ago, shocker. So then I ended up going and actually performing, doing, it's not rhetoric because that's actually communications, doing like rep theaters and summer stock and stuff like that for a little while. And really enjoyed, primarily a majority of the stuff that I played were character roles and comedic. I, believe it or not, get this whole rumor out of the way, I did get cast as a few ingenue serious roles, but I don't tell anybody that. Much like that time I had to do Palm and Dance for a scholarship. It was a hostage situation. Okay?
Okay.
Blinking twice. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Okay. But I ended up giving the money back. It's fine. Because I was that bad at it. So with that, I actually preferred doing character and comedic roles. It took more, in performing, it took a little bit more effort, and then learning what I've learned now through some of my former, used to have an all-women stand-up comedy group here in town for a while too. One of my comedians famously said, it's verbal math, which was one of the best explanations for doing stand-up and comedy. The ability to put all the puzzle pieces on what it takes to get something kind of laughing and playing was a lot more fun than doing the regular mainstream roles. So kind of moved into that, and then I went to, after doing that for my undergrad, I actually ended up sitting behind the scenes of a 3-hour play. Yeah, that's exactly the look on my face too, right? So doing a role that I had just a few lines at the very end of it, and I was like, what am I doing with my life, right? And then I realized one of the reasons I really enjoyed and got into theater in the first place, outside of needing a scholarship and being poor, was it was one thing that my family got in common, no matter what their differences. Sundays at the dinner table, every single person would talk about what happened at Saturday Night Live. And so I was like, where do these people come from? How do I go to be a part of it? I basically worked as a waitress at a country club, saved up enough money. I knew one person up in Chicago. I drove a tiny vehicle in the middle of winter to Chicago. Yes, all of which really horrible choices. Nobody ever says comedians make good choices. Listen to their stand-up and their lives. It is coping. So with that, I moved up. I knew one person, and I took one class at the Second City in Chicago, and I fell in love and was like, this is what I'm doing. So I realized very quickly it was more than just an entertainment form. It was very much multifaceted between bonding, connection, the play, the creativity, the brainstorming. These are some of the most brilliant people I ever met in my life. And not to mention fun, because if you're gonna have to be around brilliant people, you know what I mean, right? Not the ingenue types. Okay. Yeah. So fell in love with that, did the Second City, went through the conservatory there, audition, got in, stayed in, and made it through that. And then I got pregnant with my first beautiful son and moved to Wilmington. And then I got pregnant with my second. And that was when I had an improv troupe in Wilmington that, because I missed what was going on in Chicago, I started my own classes. And basically I was about 8 months pregnant when I did my very first open mic at Comedy Cabana in Myrtle Beach with, because my students, well, previous students anyway, had signed up. And I always state, I'm not gonna put in front of my students something I have not done. So guess who's youngest? Probably has a really darn good sense of humor, all right? Or not. Or really aversion to comedy clubs. We don't know yet. So he's not old enough to get into clubs. So anyway, 8 months pregnant with the second, I did my first open mic at Comedy Cabana. I didn't even realize it was a competition. And then next thing I know, I was like, I'm done. This is great. And I was like, why did I ever do this? I'm getting ready to leave. And they're like, moving on to the next round. And I was like, I gotta do this again? Are you kidding me? I'm like, I'm gonna have this baby on stage. But anyway, that was my opener. I was like, hey, if you don't laugh at my jokes, because I was obviously pregnant, I'm going to cry. To which I really got the sympathy vote. And then I was like, who am I kidding? I'm gonna cry anyway. So hormones kicked in, and I realized I was all alone up there. So that was about the beginning crux of it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so along this journey, were there any unexpected turns along the way that influenced where you are now?
Yeah, many. So the speaking thing became one of the, I did entertainment and comedy for a while. I ended up doing, competing for Nick at Night's Funniest Mom in America 3. And that was fun. I ended up making it to the top 40 or 50 out of like 400 women that auditioned across the US, and was one of the only people that had the option to either do the online portion or the live portion. I chose to do the live portion. In retrospect, I don't know if that was a great choice. But that helped move some things forward. But I also started realizing that comedy, especially with my own, I couldn't travel as much as other comedians, so I mean, I had young kids at home. So I joked that I was probably one of the only lactating comedians out there. Actually, I was not. Funniest Mom in America had at least 3 other pregnant or during the filming of that pregnant women, we'll put it that way, that were up there. I wasn't pregnant during that time. So with that, I learned very quickly comedy has more of a place outside of entertainment than anything else, and started discovering the importance of utilizing it in the classroom with speaking events, because so what had happened is I would start getting calls from corporate organizations going, we have our end of the year, we've worked really hard, we want something fun, but we also need to check off those boxes. And I'm like, I'm your jam. So basically what I would do is create and tailor improv games and humor around their themes, and create events and speaking events that pointed towards communication, leadership, and even wellness points, that everybody could walk away with great content, but at the end, everybody was playing and laughing and having a great time. So I basically say, I teach adults how to play again.
That's
right?
awesome.
So yeah.
Yeah. So now, are there any unique skills or insights that comedians bring to communication that others might not consider?
Thank you, it's a really good question, because this is going back to taking humor seriously. I want to make sure that we are all very clear. One of the things I got the opportunity to do this past year was actually do a workshop for International Society of Humor Studies, which was held at Boston University, and it was basically academics from all over the world that study humor and comedy from various academic standpoints: political science, biology, sociology, psychology, linguistics, all of that, through culture and humor. And one of the things I had realized early on was that comedy is a great way. Not only does it tell a lot, any one person's sense of humor tells a lot about who that person is, their journey, and what they relate to. Fun fact, did you know, having a sense of humor, and actually even a dark sense of humor, is a high indicator of emotional intelligence. So it's one of the most healthy ways to cope difficult situations. It is a basic survival skill that primates and species, it's an elevated level of communications that we've gotten to on an evolutionary scale. And actually, so this is where I start to go, I'm funny, I'm going to bore you to tears. All right, so what happens is it has so many different tools to it, not just psychologically and coping skills, a relief theory through Freud, but also it's a high level of intelligence, it's a high level of creative ability to be able to shift perspective and make things more of a positive situation than a dark situation. And I just use that term as utilized within comedy as stating like taking things that wouldn't normally be funny and then putting a twist on it to joke and go with it. One of the things, there's a misnomer that and especially now, we have a tendency to go, okay, there is a fine line, right? So we, especially as a society, have a tendency to go, it's right, it's wrong, it's this or it's that, and it's very, very wrong, especially when we're talking about communications. It's about that middle gray area and hitting as much of our audience as possible. Are we gonna win everybody? No. One of the first things I learned at Second City was how to fail, and it was beautiful and brilliant, right? So getting through the fear of failure and knowing that through those points also comes great moments, like Chris Farley's van down by the river where he breaks the table, right? That was not necessarily supposed to happen. So, and you can see by the looks on everybody else's faces. But what you do is you take those moments and you turn them into what we would call at Second City or other places comedy gold, or you take a situation, you go, how do we make something out of this? Much like penicillin.
Wow, yeah, that's very healthy. So now, what are the risks to using comedy in professional or business situations? And can you share an example where comedy used backfired?
Yeah, many. One I cannot, but I'm thinking about it. So just imagine. Okay, so we got there. So this is the biggest thing. I think people don't want to touch comedy. One of the things I do, actually I've put together with the continuing ed here at UNCW was a humor in the workplace lecture, which basically hits on how to utilize it within a workspace, like I just mentioned before, like even the pediatricians. Having a sense of humor and bedside manner in situations. One of the things I will also state whenever I'm doing conferences is like, before you judge somebody else's sense of humor or the scenario. Like if somebody gets those, what I affectionately like to call the church giggles at a funeral, before you judge them, understand that it is a healthy coping skill, and it is not the person putting together plastic bags and burying something in the backyard, okay? Not healthy, no sense of humor, right? Healthy, laugh at it, move on. So put the fun in funeral before you start doing the whole judgment thing. Understand that other people are utilizing it as very, very healthy coping skills. So there's much more benefits than there are downfalls to humor. People have a tendency to not want to touch humor because they're afraid. Number one, they're afraid their joke's gonna fail. But once you accept the failure and understand that what you're really doing with another human being is inviting them to play and to create and to go together. Humor is one of the number one connecting skills interpersonally with people. If you go on a job interview or even on a date and you get somebody laughing, I mean, look, check out all the other stand-up comedians and everything else along those lines that talk about it. Dudes do it all the time. They're all like, oh, he's funny. I mean, we don't get it so much on the other side for women. But on the other hand, having a sense of humor connects people quicker and faster and stronger and long-term on multiple occasions. So it's helpful in businesses, it's helpful in corporate. People don't want to touch it because they're afraid they're going to overstep the line. The biggest rule is self first, not too deprecating, but always punch up and not down. Those are a few of the little tips within it. But there's ways to create humor that you don't have to be a stand-up comedian. Look at memes.
Yeah. Yeah, that great example.
GIFs.
Yeah. So lastly, what advice would you give to students or professionals that who want to incorporate humor into their work or professional work in meaningful ways?
First of all, do it.
Yeah.
Take that step. I literally just had a public speaking group go for special occasions, and I give them the opportunity to roast. And then one student actually took her speech, a presentation, and built in humor points into it. And immediately afterwards, I was like, look, you know what you did was like 10 times braver than what most students would do in the respect of even trying or attempting it. But also know you're not always going to get the reaction that you expect, because a lot of times, especially new comedians coming out, are going to expect an automatic laugh, and when it doesn't happen, they snowball and they're like, abandoned ship, you know. And so it's also understanding, giving your audience time to catch up with what it is that you just said, let them digest it, let them get it out. So there's a sense of timing that rolls with it, but do it. Like, utilize it even in small doses, even if it's an image in the background. We have so many ways to use humor. It's not just verbal. We can utilize it in how we craft our message, to the visuals we choose to utilize. Look at remember we cover Super Bowl commercials in performance of literature, right? And how to understand and know your audience and to hit that across the board. And the ones that hit the most are generally the ones that utilize humor, because it's the biggest attention getter. It's the first viral, meaning technologically, all right, let's be clear. And the things that travel faster are things that also are accompanied by humor. A joke will travel faster amongst people than content. I want to say sadly, but not for my career. Pepper it with humor and people will also understand it better. It creates a human element that really layers it and packs it home well. So if you can get that down, basically you've mastered that evolution of communication that I want to say some of us, all of us are capable of it. Everybody's funny, by the way. So, but I also describe humor as not everybody has the same sense of humor, much like not everybody has the same like in music. If you like country music and I like hip hop, it doesn't mean we're all going to be standing at the same concerts, right? Same for your comedians. Here's my other tip too. Instead of judging 10-second clips that you get off of, the Instas, this is where I sound really old. I'm not sure what, where do I look? Okay, so instead of doing that 10-second clip and judging an entire comedian, do the research. This is going to UNCW students, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. Know exactly who that comedian is, what their past is, what they've done, and where they've gone. Everybody's growing, even comedians. So get an idea of what's happening. If they've always been that person, then yeah, that's who they are. That's their audience that they're appealing to. So go, don't go. That's totally your choice.
Yeah. Well, thank you again so much for being on our show, Professor Green, and we hope that you enjoyed your time.
have.
And over to you, Kate.
Thanks, Harvey.
Thank you.
Inspired by the impact of comedy and improv in building better teams, stronger leaders, and more dynamic workplaces, at UNCW, you can explore these innovative skills in a hands-on creative environment. With programs designed to enhance communication through humor, leadership training, and professional development, UNCW helps students and the professionals alike become effective communicators and leaders. Take the first step towards making an impact. Connect with your advisors to find a program that fits your goals. Visit www.uncw.edu to learn more about opportunities in communication studies and beyond.
Welcome back to The Current. My name is Ashley. I'm back with Professor Green and Harvey playing a game of Hangman Showdown. The rules are it's going to be best of 5. You're gonna guess a letter and then guess the word, or try to, and then you're gonna guess a letter and then guess the word. Come on, play rock, paper, scissors. You go first?
Sure.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Oh, Harvey won.
All right.
Every time.
I'm good at that.
I know. Maybe I just let you in.
Yeah, maybe.
Did you ever
I
think
don't
about that?
Yeah.
Huh? Wrap your head around it.
All right. I want to go with an E to start.
There's no E. Do you want to try and guess the word?
Comedy.
No.
No.
Okay.
There's not an E. in it.
So, so we don't have so I'm old. I do the Wheel of Fortune. I don't have to buy a vowel, right?
No.
Because I didn't bring any cash, and I'm an educator. So we know how much I have. Okay, so let's go with A.
No A.
Gotta be a
Would you like to try and guess the word?
vowel. Improv?
Yes.
I am psychic, but horrible at paper, rock, scissors.
There we go.
Sweet.
We
I
have
wasn't even sure if I had the right amount of letters. I don't count.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's why I went into comedy. Verbal math, not actual math. That's why I drive a Honda Fit.
All right. Last time I started on an E, so I'm going to go with a D.
That is wrong.
Shucks.
I'm going to go with an E now.
That is wrong.
Stings, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Hurts.
Would you like to try and guess the word?
Fails?
No. Good try.
That's a good one. A.
No. Would you like to try and guess the word?
I don't know, 5?
No.
No. That's not-
How about I?
Nope.
Is this all consonants?
No.
Acronym.
Let's go with G.
Guess what I'm sticking with? Because if I don't have to buy them, I'm using them. All right? I do Costco samples. Oh.
Hey.
All right. Still no.
You get another letter.
Okay, keep rolling. I skipped my guess. Oh, I get to do another letter?
Yes, another letter.
I was like, no, go ahead. Okay, so Let's do C.
See.
We can go with a face,
Okay.
so we can keep guessing. Would you like to try and guess the word?
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Nice
I
try.
was close, wasn't I? I was close.
I'm gonna go with an S.
We're getting ready to have supercalifragilisticexpialidocious down here.
Would you like to try and guess?
No, I'll pass on my
Okay.
guess.
All right, I'm gonna go with U.
You're on a roll.
I just turned into a cookie monster. Humor.
Yes.
Easy. I don't know why I
See?
high-fived you.
Yeah,
You're
I know.
winning.
I'm your enemy. This is how we do it in comedy, though. You smile, you slap, high five.
One away from winning.
Yay.
Ooh.
Okay.
Gotta step it up.
Humor califragilisticexpialidocious. Sweet.
Go ahead, Harvey. That's your first guess.
E. I like my E's.
Your E's are failing you.
No E's.
Ah. A. Oh, no A's for me.
O. Okay, okay.
Catching on the old vowel route.
Yeah. I. That worked.
Should not have given you a hint. Well, you got several I's.
Oh, okay. S.
No S. Would you like to try and guess?
Nah, I can't.
All right.
T. N. Watch this end up being like one of the names of my kids, and I'm like, I can't take that back. I'm joking. I know them. Let's do. Okay, this is gonna be like, or this is just a weird point. Can I just do a dot over the eyes?
Yeah, I was looking at
You're
that
totally
too,
good.
actually. Here.
You're totally good. Or there. Yes, thank you.
I was thinking about that too.
I have one of those like hardwired brains. Okay. D.
No D. Would you like to try and guess?
Nah, I want to say something completely opposite. It doesn't start with that. So I'm just going to be like, does that work?
Close.
I
Yeah,
was.
close.
You can get all that. Okay.
Your letter?
I'd like a G. Okay, that helps.
Seems as though she knows it,
Oh
so.
no. Okay. W.
My second
L.
powers have failed me.
M.
Oh my gosh.
Where are we at?
Wilmington.
There you go.
Nice. All right,
Yeah.
good.
Point on the board.
All right.
Woo.
Yeah.
University level words.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Who's first?
You want some?
A.
A is in here.
Anybody catching on to my thing here?
Yeah, I like. Yeah.
The old vowel route.
Yeah, vowel route. Okay.
E. Take an E, Pat. Thank you, Vanna.
Would you like to try and guess the word?
Recreational.
No.
Let me get a C. Let me get a M. Can I solve?
Yeah.
Communication?
Yes.
What is that?
Now we're tied. I worked hard.
You know what? I have a lot of students that can't, but that's okay. We're still working on it.
Yeah.
It's a big word. That's why we go with COM.
Whoever wins this round wins.
Okay.
Okay. Final round.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Go. E. Let's do this.
I'm warmed up.
All right. My Qigong skills. A. N.
No N.
Oh.
Would you like to try and guess?
Neopal.
No. Close.
Latin.
Go ahead, Harvey.
I'd like a C. No C.
No C.
Wow.
Would you like to try and guess?
I'm gonna pass.
All right.
S. Okay. Seahawks?
Yes.
Hey.
Hey, hey. Oh, I was gonna actually give that to you, but I can be like Seahawk,
Yeah.
singular. It's your turn. Seahawks, North Carolina. Oh my God! Did you see us?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look. So
funny how that worked out.
bonus. Yeah.
Well, you won.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Excellent. Actually, I feel like the real winner here is Harvey.
Yes. Of course.
Thank
of
you
course.
so much. Thank you.
Let's give back. We give back. Seahawks, give.
Thank you for joining us for our game. Over to you, Kate.
That wraps up this week's episode of The Current. Thank you for joining us and tune in next week.